This is a introduction to some basic cooking techniques, knife skills, how to cut your vegetables up, how to do certain things with food, and it's for beginners. It's for people who have very little experience in the kitchen or want to get better at what they're doing in the kitchen. This is an introduction to some basic kitchen tools. If you're working in a kitchen for the first time, or you're trying to set up your home kitchen and you want to do some cooking, there's some tools you need to make sure that you can do things right and follow the instructions. So first thing is a good chef's knife. This is not an expensive knife. This is a Victorinox 8-inch chef's knife with a Vibrox handle. It's inexpensive, less than $50, and it'll last you a lifetime. It also keeps an edge very well. It comes very sharp. A set of measuring cups. Now in America, we use what's called the English system, or the imperial system. So what do we have here? We have a cup, okay? That's the basic measurement for your dry ingredients, and also wet ingredients. A half of cup, third of a cup, and a quarter cup. Okay, those are your basic larger measurements. Then you have your measuring spoons. You start with a tablespoon. It takes 4 tablespoons to make a quarter cup. Okay? So there are 16 tablespoons in a cup. The next thing is your teaspoon. There are 3 teaspoons per tablespoon. Next thing is your half teaspoon. Of course, that means there's 2 of those in a teaspoon. And your quarter teaspoon, which means there's 4 of those in a teaspoon. So those are your basic measurement tools in a kitchen, in an American kitchen. This is what's called a peeler, okay? It has 2 ends on it. This is the main side, okay, for peeling potatoes, carrots, even fruit, things like that. This is your standard cooking, one of your standard cooking tools. It's called an instant read thermometer. It's a fairly inexpensive tool, $20–25 for a good one. And it's battery operated. You turn it on. You can change the settings to centigrade versus Fahrenheit. You stick it into your liquid or your meat or your whatever you're cooking and get your temperature. Okay? So it's very important, especially when cooking things like chicken, steak, things like that, to make sure you're cooking it to the right temperature. And this does that job. This is called a bench scraper. Okay? It's used a lot in baking. They cut their dough with it. They scrape, you literally scrape your bench or your working surface clean with it. But I also use it for picking up materials when I've diced my onions or cut up my carrots or whatever I need to do, or even meat. You simply take it and you scoop, and now you've got it down here, and you put it in your pot or you put it in another container. It's very good for that purpose. Okay? You want to have something to hone your knife. Now there's sharpening a knife. And then there's honing a knife. Sharpening a knife is much more difficult than honing. But for honing, you simply hold it, take your knife at about a 15-degree angle, 3 or 4 times that way, 3 or 4 times this way. About a 15-degree angle. That's it. That's all it takes. And then I like to wipe the knife clean because it gets a little bit of metal on there when you do that. So you wipe it clean. Now it's ready to be used. Okay, the other thing you need is cutting boards. You need something to cut your material on when you're cooking. If you don't have, this one's a bamboo. We've had it quite a while. It's easy to clean, easy to sanitize, and it provides a very good work surface for your knives. It doesn't dull on your knives either. But anyway, the bamboos are very nice. That's a standard tool. The other one is a silicone. This one's a KitchenAid. Didn't pay that much for it. I have 2 of these, and I bought them at Costco. And they still sell them in sets, different colors, I believe, and different sizes, but they still sell them. And I use this for meats, chicken, fish, things that tend to have juices and are raw. I use the bamboo more for vegetables and fruits because they're not as worried about contamination. So those are some basic kitchen tools. First thing you need is a good knife. This is a Victorinox 8-inch chef's knife with a Vibrox handle. Very easy to hold. You'll notice I'm holding it like this, not holding it like a club. You hold it like this with your fingers on either side of the blade. First thing you need to do is hone your knife. Get yourself a good honing rod. Hit it 3-4 times at about a 25-degree angle. Hit it 3-4 times at about a 25-degree angle. Times at about a 25-degree angle, and you've got a good hone. So now that it's honed, we need to have something to cut on. You need to hold your cutting board in place. You put down a wet towel. You put your cutting board on top of it. You'll notice it doesn't move now. See? No movement. Okay? So we're going to start with something very, very simple. Celery. Okay? Celery is very easy to cut. Okay, now hold my knife and I form a claw with my hand. See that? I put the knife against my knuckles. See, this is called a rock chop. You move the knife like this. Move your knuckles back as you do it, keeping your thumb out of the way and your fingers out of the way. There's nothing to cut except the celery, right? Keep doing that. You do it a lot faster. I mean, you have people who go da 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 like a machine gun. Don't have to do that. Other thing you want to do is you want to be consistent in the size. Okay? See? Now you got your celery all cut up. I use a bench scraper to gather my ingredients. Put them in the bowl. Okay? Okay, so that's a very simple cut. That's called a rock chop. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to dice an onion. Okay? We're going to dice an onion on half of the onion, the other half, we're going to julienne the other half. So the first thing you do for either type of cut is you cut the onion from pole to pole through the ends. Okay? So this is called the root end. This is when the onion's in the ground, that's got the roots on it. This is the stem end. This is the part that you see that connects to your greens above. So for the dicing, you leave the stem end on, the root end on, and cut off the stem end about a half an inch, a little ways back. You also should have something to put your waste into. You peel it. Okay? Put all your waste in there. Okay? So now you got a nice clean onion ready to be cut. Okay? Put your hand on like this. Don't hold it like this. Put it like this. Take your knife and put it against here and cut in until you've got a little bit left. Don't cut all the way through. This one I'm going to do a medium dice, about a 1/4 inch to a half an inch. So now you've got to cut across. Now you've got to cut down. Half an inch to 1/4 inch to a half an inch. Now you're ready to dice it. Again, see, I got my hand like this, protecting myself. My thumb's out of the way, my fingers are out of the way. I'm not going to cut myself. So that's a diced onion, all diced up, ready to put into your pot. Okay? Use your bench scraper. Okay, now this one we're going to julienne. This is what you do when you want sliced onions. For example, you're going to caramelize onions, or you're going to do something like that. You want to do it differently. You cut off both ends in this case. Okay, get them cut off, and peel the onion. Okay, now this is completely different from dicing. It's a little bit like what we did with the celery. But what you do is you orient your knife, get your fingers in position so you're against the knuckles, and you cut. Again, this is called a rock chopping. Okay, you're rocking the knife, keeping the knife's end on the cutting board. And then as you go, you've got to change it. Okay? Then when it gets too small to hold safely, you turn it on its side and you continue cutting. Cut it as small as you can. Try not, and you can chop these a little bit like that, okay? All right, you have julienne onions. There you go. Product's all done, ready to cook.